Breaking news, Raider Nation, all eyes are on Las Vegas as the Silver and Black face one of the most important early season challenges. The Raiders are gearing up for a crucial showdown, and the pressure could not be higher. Both teams are desperate for a win, but for the Raiders, this game feels like a turning point in the season. Can they seize the moment and prove the doubters wrong? Before we dive into the latest Raiders updates, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and hit that bell icon so you never miss breaking news on the Silver and Black. Now, let's move straight into the big story. We're about to find out a lot about this Raiders offense. After a rough showing from Geno Smith, throwing 3 costly interceptions in front of the home crowd at Allegiant Stadium, expectations are high for a bounce-back performance. Raider Nation knows this unit has the talent, but now it's about execution. The Commanders' defense has given up over 213 passing yards per game, which puts them in the middle of the pack. That means the opportunities are there if the Raiders play smart football. Forget forcing the deep ball, Washington will likely try the same strategy the Chargers used, taking away shots downfield and daring the Raiders to work underneath. And honestly, that's fine. If the 4-yard route is open, take it. If it's a quick dump-off for 3 yards, grab it. This offense has to move the chains and avoid those back-breaking mistakes. On the ground, the Raiders need more spark. Ashton Jeanty has to be the guy who gets rolling. He has the explosiveness, but the offensive line has to help him find daylight. Washington's run defense isn't invincible, they're giving up over 100 yards a game. If the Raiders can establish the run early, it changes everything. It sets the tone, slows down the pass rush, and opens up the playbook. At wide receiver, Jakobi Meyers has quickly become Geno's most trusted target. He's been the go-to guy in tough spots, converting key first downs and handling a heavy load. If Brock Bowers isn't fully healthy, expect even more of the offense to run through Meyers. That connection has to stay sharp, especially if Washington clamps down on the big plays. So here's the bottom line. This offense doesn't need to be flashy, it needs to be smart. Take what the defense gives you, protect the football, and keep the chains moving. Do that, and the Raiders will have every chance to control this game. The Raiders have faced tough opponents early, but this matchup gives them real chances to strike. Depth at wide receiver has to step up. Dante Thornton must prove he can win down the field, and Trey Tucker needs to sharpen those intermediate routes. If they rise to the occasion, it creates space for Jakobi Meyers to dominate where he's most dangerous, the middle of the field. That's how the Raiders can keep drives alive and put real pressure on Washington's secondary. Now, let's talk about the tight ends. All eyes will be on Brock Bowers. Last week, even while limited, he was on the field for most snaps, and when fully healthy he rarely comes off. This is the type of game where the Raiders can truly weaponize both Bowers and Michael Mayer. Washington has struggled badly against tight ends this season, giving up one of the highest yardage totals in the league. That mismatch is there for the taking, especially in the red zone, where 2 tight end sets could tilt the game in the Raiders' favor. And then there's the offensive line. Protecting Geno Smith and opening holes for Ashton Jeanty starts in the trenches. If Jackson Powers-Johnson is healthy, he belongs at center anchoring this unit. The line has to control the line of scrimmage, because that's where this game will ultimately be decided. The Raiders have the weapons. The question is simple, will they execute, or let another opportunity slip away? Right now, Colton Miller is playing like the best left tackle in the NFL. His pass-blocking grade backs it up, and honestly, you can argue he's the most important player on this offense. Without him, the rest of the line looks shaky at best. If Jackson Powers-Johnson is healthy, he belongs at center, with Jordan Meredith sliding inside at guard. That interior has to hold up, because opponents are attacking it, forcing the Raiders to run right or bringing pressure straight up the middle. If those inside blockers can't anchor, it's going to be a long afternoon. Washington's pass rush hasn't been dominant so far, just 4 sacks through 2 games, but that can't lull the Raiders into a false sense of security. They'll blitz, they'll test the gaps, and they'll try to collapse the pocket from the inside. This is where the Raiders must stay committed to the ground game. Even if it's tough sledding early, running the football keeps the defense honest and sets up the passing attack. Now let's shift to the other side of the ball. Credit where it's due, the defense has kept this team alive. Holding the Chargers to 20 and New England to just 13 points should have been enough to start 2-0. The reality is, the Raiders haven't played a complete game yet, but the defense is showing real promise. And that's why this matchup with Washington is going to be so critical. We'll break down exactly what the Raiders need to do to shut down the Commanders next. But first, let's be clear about one thing: even the stars need to raise their game. Nobody is above the shield, and that includes Maxx Crosby. Let's be real, when you're not playing to the standard the team needs, it has to be called out. And right now, Maxx Crosby isn't playing at the level Raider Nation expects. The Raiders' defense has 6 sacks this season, but only half have come from the edge rushers. Crosby, Malcolm Kuntz, and Tyree Wilson need to set the tone on the outside. Maxx is still the heart of this defense, but he has to dominate like he usually does, especially against quarterbacks who can extend plays. That's the key this week. Whether it's Jayden Daniels or Marcus Mariota, the Raiders must keep them contained. Make them throw from the pocket. If Mariota is forced to win with his arm, the Raiders control this game. But if he's allowed to use his legs and build confidence, things could get dangerous. Inside, the defensive tackles have been holding their ground. Thomas Booker has been the most consistent, winning battles and generating real pressure up the middle. Leki Fotu is having the best start of his career, adding sacks and making his presence felt. But this week, the job is clear: shut down the run. Washington is averaging over 130 yards a game on the ground, much of it boosted by their quarterbacks. If the Raiders' front can plug those lanes and collapse the pocket, it changes everything. At linebacker, Devin White and Jermaine Pratt have provided steady play, but the real surprise has been Jamal Adams. He's stepped up as one of the best defenders on the field, flying around and delivering impact snaps. That kind of energy is exactly what this defense needs. On the flip side, Alondon Roberts has to elevate his game. Missed assignments can't continue. Against a team that will test you with quarterback runs and short checkdowns, every tackle has to stick. No over-pursuing, no giving up free yards. If the Raiders stay disciplined, contain the quarterback, and keep wrapping up, the defense will once again give this team every chance to win. This matchup is going to test the Raiders' defense in every way. Washington will lean heavily on checkdowns and quick throws, so the linebackers must be sharp. Every tackle matters. Wrap up, swarm to the football, and don't let short gains turn into backbreakers. So far this season, the Raiders' defense deserves credit. I'd give them an A. Why? Because they've battled through tough situations and delivered when it counted. In both games, the second-half adjustments have been outstanding. Just 3 points allowed to New England, and only 3 to the Chargers on Monday Night Football. That's how good defenses win games, by adjusting and closing the door late. Patrick Graham deserves recognition for that. At cornerback, Eric Stokes was the standout last week. He played with confidence and physicality, something this defense needs on the outside. The Commanders' receiving threats are no joke, with Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel leading the charge. Stokes needs to lock down his assignment, and Kai Blue Kelly has to rebound after a rough outing. These matchups will decide how much freedom Washington's quarterbacks have to test the secondary. For the safeties, discipline is everything. They cannot get beaten over the top. Washington's offense lives off death by 1,000 cuts, short passes, screens, checkdowns, but if they sneak in a deep strike, it opens the floodgates. Last week, big plays hurt the Raiders, and that simply can't happen again. This could also be a statement game for Jeremy Chinn. Facing his former team, he'll be motivated, and the Raiders need his leadership in the back end. If he and the secondary keep everything in front of them, this defense has the power to shut Washington down. Special teams can often decide close games, and for the Raiders, this phase has to be sharper. Daniel Carlson continues to be one of the most reliable kickers in football. When drives stall, his leg keeps points on the board, and in a game that could be low-scoring, that accuracy from long range is priceless. But punting has to improve. A.J. Cole is an all-pro talent, and the Raiders need him to flip the field consistently. Early numbers haven't been up to his usual standard, and that matters because in tight contests, every yard of field position is the difference between controlling momentum and giving it away. Kick return duties also need a reset. Zamir White hasn't looked confident, and hesitation in that role hurts more than it helps. Trey Tucker has flashed speed, but too many fair catches have left opportunities wasted. The Raiders must find someone who can inject life into returns, create energy, and set the offense up with shorter fields. That spark could tilt the balance in a game where every possession counts. At the end of the day, this comes down to execution and pride. The Raiders have players who were rewarded this offseason with big contracts. Now it's time to see them deliver, to wear the shield with purpose, and to show why they earned the trust of this franchise.